Do you keep hearing podcast ads, like this one, for example, but always wonder how you actually get involved with them for your own brand or organization? Well, it's easier than you think. We're Acast, and we give you the platform to do it all yourself. Browse thousands of popular podcasts, choose the shows that match your perfect audience, set your budget, and launch. And if you want a hand, our podcast specialists are there to help you launch with confidence. This is podcast advertising without barriers. Get started at acast.com/advertise.
Of course there's no toilet paper in the IKEA showroom display.
Eavesdroppin.
Oh, Michelle, hello.
Georgette, hello. Howdy do da day. What's going on?
Well, I guess the big news is that you're here in suburban Greater London currently, which is nice. We're together.
Yes.
The other big news in suburban Greater London, in our part of the world, Michelle, which is where you are now sharing the space with me, is that our gorgeous, sexy postman, Dan.
Oh, yes.
Who hasn't made a trip here yet, hasn't arrived necessarily today, but you will see him as you're here all week. He's got new wheels.
No.
Yeah.
What, postie wheels? Or
Every postie, they've rolled them out to electric golf or stroke moon buggies, let's call them.
Wow.
Yes. He's a little embarrassed, I think, to say the least. Being the driver, him and Kev have to get about in these moon buggies.
What, Kev?
Yeah.
Oh, Kev. I love
Kev
that.
and Dan. You'll see them.
Yeah.
You'll see. They're out. They're probably out there stalking the streets as we speak. And you may see his little golf buggy, stroke moon buggy. He can't be blasting the techno out of it anymore or just hooning around the streets like he used to do. But I guess, in a way, they're looking after the environment. That's Royal Mail. Thanks. Thank you, King Charles, or whoever owns them.
Is it open-sided? Is it like, can the wind whip?
Kind of like a mini moke. Do you remember those? Those beach buggies. Or a golf buggy. Or a moon buggy. I keep saying moon buggy.
But what's he going to do in the winter?
Yes.
That's going to suck.
I think they started in February. He told me it was going to happen. I think he was worried it was going to take the shine off his sexiness.
Oh, because it would look really uncool.
It does a little bit.
Sorry, Dan, you're not so cool anymore.
Sorry, Dan.
I was just thinking, when it comes to vehicles, I feel like they are receptacles for shit. Not actual shit, but...
What do you mean?
Well, you can...
Like a shit holder.
No, it's more...
It's a weird thing to say.
No, what I mean is your car is where you can keep that extra...
A reflection of your personality?
Could be, but it's more that...
Like your dog is supposed to look like you?
Oh, no, you don't look like Winter. No, it's more that with the car, because I don't have a car, I have a bicycle. I have a car, but we don't use it. We're not allowed to use it.
You've been banned?
Yes, but in my car, I have...
Maybe just explain you can't use it because you live in a car-free village.
Oh,
not because
yes,
you've been
sorry.
banned. Let's just get that straight.
No, not being banned. Yes, no, cars are not allowed. You get fined thousands of francs if you end up with a car in our village. No, so I've got a bicycle. But what I love about a car, going back to this idea that it's a receptacle for stuff.
Well, shit, you said.
Shit. I've got a car blanket in there. I've got a spare jumper. I've got
I see
lip
what
balm.
you mean.
I've got hand cream.
Yes.
I've got glasses, cloths. I've got lollies under the seat for car traveling.
It can be a bin bag.
So what is poor Dan going to do?
Well, I guess he just has to carry his own little bag with him and chuck all his bits and bobs in there. I mean, what does he need anyway? A hat. He's not wearing his hat at the moment because it is nice and sunny.
Right.
Just to keep his head warm, when it is cold.
Car sunglasses.
Probably needs his sunnies. They'll go in his jacket pocket, I reckon. You know what? We'll ask him. Because you will see him, Michelle. I bet he's desperate to see you.
You are correct, though. He'll probably say, yeah, I've got a backpack. It's that simple. Like, you don't need a car.
In and out.
But
He doesn't drive home in this vehicle. I think they all drive to the depot
Right.
and then they all have to get about blat, I was going to say, but I think they can do tops maybe 20, which is actually the speed limit these days anyway around the streets of Greater London.
If I see him on this mini moke moon buggy,
Yeah.
I feel like I want to do, when you see truckers and you go,
Honk.
I'm going to do that. I want to just go toot, 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 Dad. You know, that's my horn on my bike.
I know.
I've got the clown horn. But look.
It's time to introduce ourselves.
I'm Michelle.
The ridiculous one.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Geordie, also ridiculous. And welcome your eavesdroppers, because this is a podcast. It's called Eavesdroppin, and it is, by and large, I'd say, quite ridiculous.
Yes, it is. And, well, obviously you can't see me, dear listeners. Don't have the grey robe on today.
Or the grey mullet.
No grey mullet. We had a discussion about this. A friend said, loving the new look, Michelle. And I thought she was serious. You think she wasn't serious.
Stop. You haven't even given the poor listeners any context.
No context.
If you don't follow us on social media, you won't know what Michelle's talking about.
And why don't
we got
you?
AI. Yeah.
Yes.
Why the hell don't you? We got AI to do some great hairstyles. We talked about it a few episodes ago. What if we gave me a grey flat top and Michelle a bleached blonde mullet?
Yes.
And actually they got it wrong and they gave me the blonde mullet, which, to be fair, didn't look that different from my real hair. And Michelle got the very short crew cut. And her friend, who follows us on social media, thank you, said, loving the new look, Michelle. I suspect that's a joke. Michelle thinks it's serious.
So she says, loving your new look, Michelle. And she did the emoji that's like two hands together with stars. But anyway, the two hands, thumbs touching.
It's a high 10.
Is it? I don't know.
I think so.
And then I said, AI did it to me. And she said, so lifelike. So I don't know. I mean, I can't see how that is a compliment. Terrible.
Michelle doesn't like the way she looks with a grey mullet. But I say it makes your blue eyes pop, Michelle.
Oh.
Really brings out your features. Consider it.
There's no consideration. I will be that old lady who dyes her hair until the grave.
I thought you were going to say till the grey pops right out and there's nothing more you can do.
You know, there is something to be said when you see someone who rocks the steel
platinum.
grey hairstyle. But these are generally women who have good quality, healthy, thick hair. And they had great hair when it was, you know, whatever colour. And they have great hair now. It's grey. I have poor quality hair. It breaks off. I mean, someone said to me the other day, oh, wow, you're
really selling the hair.
Well, I'm still on the hair. She said to me, oh, your hair looks great. I love the layers. And I was like, accidental layers.
Breakage.
No, don't have good quality hair. If you, like me, have hair complaints or you're just moaning like a bitch about your bad hair, moan in. Yeah, write in because I'm here for you.
Moan in.
Moan in. Moan in.
Do moan in.
Do moan in.
And let us know all your moaning stories about what things you don't like about your hair. Listen, you think that's bad, Michelle. Listen to this. I saw a post recently that said, police hunt for woman who pooped on a shelf in a shop and walked off.
What?
Yeah. Apparently this happened on the 25th of March, 2026, around 1:40 p.m. inside the chain superstore, The Range, in Banbury. Do you remember the fine lady from Banbury Cross?
No.
To see a fine lady upon a white hoss. Bells on her fingers and rings on her toes. She shall have music wherever she goes.
I thought that was something else.
Lady Godiva.
Right. So she just took a shit.
Well, this fine lady from Banbury Cross wasn't so fine. Not so fine. Apparently, well, there's a clear CCTV photo of a woman, and let's hope it really is the culprit. Apparently, she took a dump on a shelf and calmly walked out.
No.
And according to Thames Valley Police, they are treating it as criminal damage. They say it's not hygienic.
Of course it's fucking not.
I'm with you. Thames Valley, yeah. She was pulling a small suitcase on wheels at the time, and they are not saying it was her, but that she could, in inverted commas, help them with their inquiries.
Right.
So some people in the post said, could it be dementia? Because some people said, oh, look, my mum did something like that in her absolute peak of dementia. So, you know, I do feel a bit cautious saying anything about this because perhaps it wasn't a case of I've got nowhere else to go and I desperately need a poo, or it's just happened. It could be that she thought she was walking into a toilet. Maybe the range looks a little bit like a giant toilet.
Shitter.
Maybe.
Well, there were always stories floating around about...
Floaters.
People who went to IKEA and, looking at their bathroom setups and,
And used the toilet.
Used the toilet that is not plugged in at all.
There's no water in it.
There's nothing in it. But they've taken a shit or a pee or a poop.
Found that there's no toilet paper.
Of course there's no toilet
flush.
paper in the IKEA showroom display.
Imagine being a visual merchandiser for IKEA and having to go and deal with that. No, thank you. You'd have to pay me triple.
But people do the strangest things.
Don't they?
Going back to things on shelves, there was a news story a few weeks ago about, I think it was at Sydney Airport, a shopper got the fright of their life because they went to pick up a stuffed toy wallaby, but it was a real one.
What?
And it had somehow ended up in... It got into the airport, ended up in like one of those souvenir tat shops, and it was a real life wallaby, and it was, or a possum or something, and it was sitting there, and people were like, "God, that's so lifelike! Oh my God!" And it moved, and it was a
and then
real
it scratches your eyes out. Oh my goodness!
But people do strange things. I live in a tourist town. A friend of mine is a receptionist for one of the hotels, and she said they often have to throw the kettles away.
What?
And in fact, they're thinking of not putting kettles in hotel rooms anymore.
Why?
Because, well, some people use them as a washing machine. So they boil the kettle and put their underpants in there.
Oh, God.
And they leave the pants in there. So they go to empty the kettle. Yes. So they boil clean their underwear in a kettle. Or what they do is they get their pot noodle and just stick the whole contents of it into the kettle.
What? How'd you get that out?
You can't. That kettle needs to go in the bin.
insane.
So people do the strangest things.
Don't they? I want to hear more stories from your friend who has a hotel and more stories from you and your restaurant, of course. I think you should write a book, to be honest.
I should. Like things people do. The other day, actually, it was late and we'd had a late night at the restaurant and I was just calling the elevator to go down into the basement to take some things down. And I swear there was a couple, if I hadn't pressed it, they would have been having sex in that lift.
What?
Yes. Yes.
So they were a bit fruity when you stepped in and then all of a sudden there was an awkward silence.
Yes. All the time before we'd put a lock on the wine fridges.
Oh, God.
Yeah, came down and there were just bottles everywhere and they looked on the CCTV and people had come in at like 2 a.m. and had just gone and helped themselves to like very expensive bottles of champagne and wine.
That's so
and we were
rude.
like, what room number is that? You need to now add that 700 franc bottle of champagne to their bill.
Did you do that?
200 franc. Absolutely.
Yeah, you got the money back?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Embarrassing.
You know, if they were looking for a few bottles of cheap booze to neck at, 4 a.m,
And
they
they
got a nasty
a bad
surprise on their
decision.
bill.
Oh, wow.
People do the strangest things.
People do the strangest of things.
If you've got any strange stories, do write in. We love it when you write in.
Somebody did write in.
Who?
It was Kiss Apocalypse.
Oh, yes, about Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo. He said he loves him because I suggested watching Task and it was really good. Did you watch it?
No, but I will now. I will. Do you know what? DTF St. Louis is over. It's finished.
Okay.
So I'm looking for a new series and maybe Task is the one.
Maybe. It's a good one. Mark Ruffalo, yes, he's cute and he's sexy too, but he's obviously older now and not as sexy. Certainly not in Task. He's not quite very sexy at all.
Right.
Just trying to think of where I did used to think he was sexy. He was in that great film, not The Favourite. He was in that great film that was after The Favourite with Emma Stone.
Okay.
Poor Things? No. What was it where she was like a Frankenstein monster?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
I think it's called Poor Things.
Okay, I'll have to look it up. That's a good rec. We don't know the name. We just know the guy.
Great film. Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe.
You bloody fool.
Middle-aged misunderstanding alert. Please backtrack, regain composure, and start again.
I meant to say it.
That's the sound of the Big Bang of country music. It was 1927, Bristol, Tennessee. The electric microphone meant producers could visit Appalachia and record folk songs for the first time. What they captured launched a genre. This is one of many sounds in Tennessee with a story to tell. To hear them in person, plan your trip at tnvacation.com. Tennessee sounds perfect.
While every other channel is fighting for your customers' attention, podcasts are where they've already given it. No one accidentally listens to a podcast for 45 minutes. They choose to be here. They trust the voice in their ears, and when that voice talks about your brand, it doesn't sound like advertising. It sounds like a recommendation from a friend. Acast gives you that trust at scale. Digital precision, host-read authenticity, and performance data that proves it worked. Don't fight for attention. Buy it with Acast. Learn more by visiting acast.com/advertise.
This is an Instagram rec. Now, I spoke to you a little bit about this.
Yes.
She's called Coventry Witch. Her name's Julie Aspinall.
Yes.
Witch and Druid Priestess of Gaia. Now, what I like is one of her latest posts is banish a fucker from your life. To banish some fucktard from your life. That's what she says. She tells you how to do it. You just write their name on piece of paper, you burn it, but she's quite funny. Banish that fucker from your life, she says. So I would say for quick, easy spells, give her a go if you don't mind a little bit of swearing.
Okay.
Another one that I found, and I think I sent you, this is another Instagram rec, TMI Tammy, which is TMI Aunt Tammy, messy midlife stories.
That sounds fun.
She looks young, but she's pretending to be old, and she has lipstick on her teeth. And she talks about all sorts of empowering things for women. She's hilarious. And actually, our friends, the Original Midlifers, also follow her. Give those two things a go if you, A, want a little bit of comedy with your spells, or B, you just want to
laugh.
Have a giggle.
Have a giggle. I love it. I love a giggle. Oh, that's great fun. Well, I haven't got anything else to recommend, so the only thing is I shouldn't really be looking at Instagram too much because it is a time suck, as you called it once, and it's so appropriate. I'd rather listen to a podcast like this one, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. But what are you going to talk about this week?
Well, it's quite newsworthy, but it's also maybe a little boring to you, Michelle, because it'll be the third time we've spoken about the fucking moon.
Oh, my God. I'm over the moon.
Are you over the moon? I'm always over the moon. I'm over the moon. Over the moon that you are so over the moon.
Do you know what? It's because I know that people think it's ridiculous that I kind of question whether or not people actually landed on the moon.
I wasn't even going to raise it today, Michelle.
Oh, good, all right.
It's not even anywhere near what I'm going to talk about regarding the moon today. I'm not going to question you. I'm not going to put you in the spotlight.
Thank you.
Why the hell don't you believe that people walked on the moon in the 60s and 70s? That is not what we're talking about today. It is, because it's newsworthy, Artemis 2. They've completed their mission. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, it's been all over the news. Yep.
A spaceship full of people. They didn't go to the moon, but they flew past it. And on social media, just before they returned, I saw a disturbing image, and it was said to have been captured by the crew. It's something scuttling across the moon's surface and kicking up a load of dust. And I tell you what, Michelle, it did stop me in my tracks. When I tried to take a deeper look on the internet, it told me that many of these videos are, of course, AI generated or misinterpretations of camera artifacts. I don't even know what that means. Or just satellites, meteors or asteroids or space debris passing between the camera and the moon. So, as you can imagine, the return of Artemis 2 to the moon has sparked a blizzard of misinformation on platforms like X and TikTok and Instagram, including claims that the mission is a green screen hoax. Not saying anything about you, Michelle. I don't believe that you think that. But there are people who say that it might be faked. Experts say that's false, and that often stems from AI manipulation. Blame AI at the end of the day. It's always their fault.
What did you think it looked like? Did it look like a sea monkey scuttling by? Like, what did it look like when you saw this
Yes, it looked like dust kicking up from something that was racing across the surface.
Okay.
It was insane. It can't be real. It's not on the news. It's not real.
Right.
However, there is real validated footage from the Artemis 2 crew that shows breathtaking views of the moon's craters and a dramatic Earthrise from thousands of miles away. Can you imagine seeing that?
That would be incredible.
Right. So these viral scuttling videos that I just described, they're generally deemed to be part of the Wild West internet landscape that basically is exploiting all the interest that people have in the Artemis mission right now. So, yeah, it's just going to happen, isn't it? People are going to jump on that shit. But let's talk about this crewed moon mission because we haven't even discussed it, Michelle. Do you know much about it?
No, I really don't. I've been too busy.
You don't care?
No, it's not that I don't care. It's more that there were other things just occupying my very limited brain space.
Such as?
Don't even. Just don't even. I cannot bore anyone further with tedious dental talk. It's too much.
Well, we'll park the tooth talk right there. I will just first of all make an errata message. An error. I made an error recently regarding our last episode about the moon, which was the space race episode, season 7, episode 10. We are currently in season 7, so it was earlier this year, 2026. The info that I got anecdotally about the last person to walk on the moon being an Indian citizen. Do you remember I said, it's not true. The last people to walk on the moon, indeed, as I thought originally, were the NASA astronauts Eugene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt during the Apollo 17 mission in 1972. That's when the last man ever walked on the moon.
That is true.
Thank you. It's true, she says.
No, it's true that's what's documented.
You heard it here first.
I did the links for the bloody Patreon.
Michelle changed her mind.
No, I said that information is true.
Okay, my information about the Indians are false. But India did successfully land robotic missions on the lunar surface, most notably something called Chandrayaan-3 on August 23, 2023. A lot of threes in there.
Ooh.
You could go nut in the conspiracy sphere, couldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
But that did make India the first nation to land near the South Pole, even though it was robotically. But let's talk about Artemis 2.
I mean, I didn't even know they were pouring money into stuff like this still.
Pin that, Michelle. Money.
There is a lot of other things you could be spending your money on.
They should be, yeah. Environmental issues and energy and...
just feeding people, giving them homes.
Exactly. Well, they have put some money into this, as you know. The crew of the NASA flight to and around the moon of Artemis 2 are Christina Koch. I don't know how you pronounce the name. I think it's Koch or Koch. I think it's probably Koch. I think it's German.
Yeah, okay.
She holds the record for the longest single space flight done by a woman, and she's the first woman assigned to a lunar mission. Good on you, Christina. Then we've got the Commander Reed Weissman, whose wife sadly died not long ago, I think, from cancer, and he managed to name a crater on the moon after his wife, Carol, which I think is lovely. Then we've got Victor Glover, who is the first black person to travel to the moon. So he's a groundbreaker. And then there's Jeremy Hansen, also special because he is the first Canadian astronaut selected for a lunar mission. So they're the first humans to do this mission or anything like it in over 50 years. That in itself is interesting. But again, it's probably all about the money. Why do you need to go back? The crew are back on Earth now after a very textbook touchdown, apparently. They splashed down in the Pacific at sometime after midnight or something. I don't know. I didn't really watch it. You know, we would have all been glued to the TV screens had it been Armstrong and gang, but this time round we kind of just went, whatever. And Commander Reed Weissman reported that they were all good, everyone's safe, healthy, and presumably dying for a cup of tea and a proper lie down because they have to come hurtling through space at a really crazy speed. I didn't write it down. I read the number earlier and I thought, that's insane. Plus, the temperature is ridiculous. And it's only this really thin little spacecraft that's as big as a combi van that is basically protecting them from incinerating. It's crazed,
yes,
if you think about it.
It is. Project that onto 1969. Crazed.
NASA is calling it the start of a new era of human space exploration, which feels dramatic but also fair because these four have just done a casual 10-day spin past the the moon. And they completed that cheeky little lunar flyby by traveling 406,771 kilometers from Earth. And that is the furthest humans have ever been.
Wow.
No biggie.
And they came back alive to tell the tale.
Yeah, and they're safe and they're back. But here's the interesting part. Christina Koch said that when she looked out the window at the moon, it didn't look right, Michelle.
What do you mean?
Not in a spooky kind of alien-esque kind of way, but in a deeply human, slightly disorienting way, because she's seeing it from another aspect. She said the darker parts just aren't in the right place. She said something about you senses that this is not the moon that I'm used to seeing, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, because we only ever have seen one side of the moon from Earth. So suddenly she's up there seeing angles that her brain has literally never processed before, and her mind has just gone, I don't like that.
Yeah. Her frame of reference is shifting.
Perhaps what it might be like to look at an alien, for example.
You know, her frame of reference is what we have seen forever, picture books and looking up with our own eyes. And then she sees...
we don't see the dark side.
No, dark side of the moon.
Meanwhile, Reed Weissman said he saw something awe-inspiring when he glimpsed the view of Earth almost in eclipse, the moon fully lit, and they were suspended between those two, the moon and the Earth.
It's crazy.
They're sitting in the middle. Isn't it? Can you imagine? And then Christina Koch said again, the dark side is something we have never seen before. Exactly what you said, shifting her perspective. Here's a fun fact. The moon doesn't actually have a dark side. We just don't see the other side because it rotates at the same rate as it orbits the Earth.
Yes.
So that's called tidal locking. Thank you, the internet. Every part of the moon gets sunlight.
Well, it makes sense because when we are asleep, Australia's awake and there's no dark side of the Earth. It's just shifting.
Yeah, so they probably don't realise that there is an Australia because they only get to see, I don't know, America. If there's anything on the moon to see it, pin that.
Pin it.
In 1959, a Soviet probe, which is unmanned, snapped the first pictures of the moon's far side, which is, like I said, the bit we never see. And nearly a decade later, the astronauts on Apollo 8 in 1968 saw it as they flew past. But now the crew on the Artemis 2 have seen it. They've taken it all in its full glory, becoming the very first humans to view parts of the lunar far side with the unaided eye in over 50 years, like I said earlier. And they have luckily provided high-resolution, first-hand views of unexplored features like something called the Oriental Basin.
Ooh.
That sounds nice, doesn't it?
It does.
Oriental Basin. Because there's all those holes all over the place in the moon, isn't there? So I guess they're 360 all round it, not just the bit that we see. And what they also saw were craters and ridges, ancient lava flows.
What?
Parts of the moon no human has properly observed from that perspective before, but not alien civilizations, Michelle.
No, I mean, they didn't, see a castle with a sea monkey hanging out of it. Or did they?
Well, they didn't, no. And one of the strangest parts, I think, for Christina Koch, she said, between these huge existential moments, staring at the far side of the moon and then going, oh, I've got to fix the toilet, because apparently they had toilet troubles and she was the one who had to fix it.
What?
That kind of existential brain shift. And then, oops, there's a funny smell. I've got to sort that out.
Jesus.
At their furthest point, on April the 6th in 2026, the crew of the Artemis 2 reached that incredible distance I said earlier, 406,000 something kilometers, and broke the 1970 Apollo 13 record. And they, like I said, saw a solar eclipse from space.
Wow.
They saw the sun disappearing behind the moon. And they saw the corona visible with total silence. Just imagine that. That's like that movie, In Space, No One Hears You Scream.
Yes.
Or 2001 or something like that.
Right.
So on the one hand, you've got this decades-old claim, though, about secret bases on the far side of the moon. And then you've got these guys up there saying, it looks great, but I've still got a toilet to clean.
Right.
So can both things be true? Or are they tapping into the same thing? That unsettling feeling that the moon, that thing we see every night, is still in so many ways unfamiliar to us. It's a mystery. Are we all singing Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd in our heads right now?
I think it's really interesting that they obviously have put eyes on the side that we've never really seen, and that they say there's nothing there.
Exactly.
It's nothing there.
Well, they didn't say nothing there. They didn't say that there were certain things there, which I'm going to tell you about in a moment.
Because if you were trying to hide something, if you're aliens, you would go to the dark side of the moon, you know, because you would never be seen.
Well, if you knew about science, if you knew about science and you knew that it wouldn't be seen from that angle, yeah, I suppose that's where you'd build your bases. And that's why there are people that do believe there are secret lunar bases on the dark side of the moon. Some think there's a literal castle, like you kept alluding to, on the moon, Michelle. They didn't say anything about sea monkeys hanging from it.
Right, okay.
But let me tell you something which is true. At the peak of the Cold War, when the US and Russia were basically in that never-ending competition of who's best, and we talked about that earlier in the year, there were whispers of using the far side of the moon as another power move. By what?
Oh.
By detonating a fucking nuclear bomb up there.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Not for science, not because they had to, just to be the best, just to dominate.
Just because.
Just because.
Boys and their toys.
Absolutely fucking shocking. Thankfully, by Cold War standards even, somebody said, let's not do that. So it didn't happen. Thank God. Can you imagine? Because the moon has such an impact on the tides, on, you know, everything. Don't do that shit. We might all be
on your rags.
If they did that, imagine, we might never touch the ground again.
No, God knows what will happen if you fuck with stuff like that.
Or something. I'm not scientific. I'm sure there's a scientist out there, Neil, who can write in and tell us what would really happen if they had fucked with the moon and what would be the knock-on effect for Earth. Bloody idiots, honestly.
Can you imagine even potentially getting rid of just a piece of the moon? Butterfly effect. What's going to happen?
Exactly.
Thank God someone had the sense to say, oh, maybe not. Maybe not a good idea. We'll park that. Let's just shelve that idea for the moment. And
for now.
Let's have lunch and we'll come back to that. And then they just wipe it off the agenda.
Somebody says, bad move, guys.
Guess what? Did you know aliens are real? The Earth is actually flat and you can have sex with a ghost.
Open your eyes, dear. I'm going to go back to this story because in case you didn't know, you and all the eavesdroppers, NASA has something called the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, aka LRO. A lot of letters there, sorry. That has been mapping the moon since 2009 and helping identify scientifically interesting areas and potential landing sites. But then there's a guy called Scott Waring, who is a self-proclaimed UFO expert, and he took a trip to Conspiracy Town after spotting something odd on, get this, Michelle, something I didn't know about before I did this story, Google Moon. There's Google Earth and there's Google Moon.
I did not know there was Google Moon.
I didn't know.
I guess it makes sense.
Of course.
You just put the satellite, flip it the other way, face it towards the moon.
Turn it the different direction.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I've not done it and I don't know what it's like to do that. But according to Scott Waring, he's done it and he saw a load of stuff. And one of those things, he says it wasn't a glitch. He's convinced he was looking at an alien megastructure. He says, I have found an alien structure over 9 miles or 15 kilometers long on the moon's de Marias crater. And naturally, he zoomed right in and was even more convinced and said, you can see there's a structure here and it does appear to be a solid object. The object must be huge and it looks like a part of the object is a circular tube.
No.
But then he says it vanished.
Oh.
Right.
Oh. Well, before I could take a photo, it just disappeared. Okay, Scott.
He says it almost looks like a crater itself, but it's not there in other photos. If we try and look at this in other photos, it just disappears. What he means by that is when he changed it to, you can do this on Google Earth. When you change it to terrain. Exactly, or colour, it disappears. And he says that when you do switch between the different filters on Google Moon and the object mysteriously disappears, he doesn't think that that's a glitch. He thinks it's a cover-up. And he says what NASA did is edited this object out and put a fake crater in that location. Why did NASA want us not to see this alien building, he says? Well, they just don't want us to see a lot of things, and it's easy to edit out some of these things.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing, but that's something along the lines of what he said. Other things he has claims to have spotted is vegetation and a 300-meter-long ship in a small crater.
Oh.
What he said about that was...
Yeah, this is interesting.
It's quite fascinating, isn't it? He said the ship is parked along the edge of the crater upper wall and is actually hovering above the ground. The shadow below it really shows the detail of its height and size. This is a white ceramic-style ship. That means it's reflective like shiny white ceramic, and this makes it near impossible to get a detailed photo of unless it is in the shadows.
Right.
Do you think that Artemis 2 saw anything and they're covering it up? But they may have been told, if you see anything dodgy, don't just talk about the sunrise and the moonrise. Just talk about the eclipse and la-da-da-da-da.
And how awesome, like the awe-inspiring feeling and this and that.
Fixing the shitter, all of that. Just go on about that. Don't talk about the ceramic-style ship.
I do think that they could have been instructed not to terrify the world with observations of startling things that they could have seen.
Startling.
Yes, really.
I like that as a description.
Knowing what we know, I mean, we've done this podcast a long time and we're obviously full of facts. There's no dinner party kamikaze shit going on here.
We are brimming with facts.
We are always brimming with facts, but our cup overfloweth with facts. But what I would say is we've been doing this podcast for long enough and done enough episodes on conspiracies and all of the UFO stuff for me not to be surprised if a directive had been given to them. Do not discuss anything weird. You know, maybe not in that exact words, but
don't phone home and mention the alien megastructure.
Yes.
Because they were doing that as well. They were ringing home.
Oh.
Yeah. And sending photos back and all sorts of stuff.
But you can imagine they probably were told, don't tell anyone about the weird shit until we check it out.
That's just on one side of the moon.
I mean, look, they've classified way less crazy shit than that.
Oh, yeah.
In the past.
For sure.
So it doesn't surprise me or it wouldn't surprise me if some directive had been given.
So says Michelle, and she might be right. But for Scott C. Waring and his conspiracy theorist pals, their claim is that the moon could well be occupied by aliens, and that is the reason that NASA has not returned since Apollo's missions ended in the 70s. Not because of the cash, but because there's something there.
Well, maybe they got a message.
Stop looking.
Fuck off. Turn around. You're not welcome here. Skull and crossbones. Pirate radio.
Nothing to see here.
If you were an alien, yeah, wouldn't you be like... I mean, we've all seen Star Wars type movies, Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, it's like, leave me the fuck alone. I'm not interested. You're fucking up your planet. Don't come and fuck up mine. Okay. Piss off.
Yeah. No, it doesn't make sense.
I don't know. It's a possibility.
But for the skeptics and NASA, they say the UFO and other similar findings are just the effects of something called pareidolia. Pareidolia. This is a psychological phenomenon where the brain tricks the eyes into seeing familiar objects or shapes in patterns or textures, such as a rock surface. And I think we've talked about it before in relation to maybe seeing Christ in a potato. Or something.
Yes, or Elvis's face on a piece of toast.
Toast, exactly.
Yeah.
No comment from NASA, of course. Sorry, Scott C. Waring. They have not confirmed nor denied or even graced it with a response.
I mean, we'll never know the truth. Like, if there was something discovered, we'll never know. Unless it gets declassified in another 100 years.
Who knows? But if you think about it, Michelle, the likelihood is that the moon's tendency to being lumpy and Google images tending to be a bit pixelated is more likely to be the explanation, don't you think?
Yeah, Occam's razor and all that. But I do think even if something was there, we wouldn't know. They wouldn't be allowed to tell us.
Well, there's another guy who also thought there was something iffy afoot up on the moon.
Ooh.
And his name is Carl Wolf. He's a former US Air Force sergeant and a one-time UFO whistleblower. Back in 2001, Carl stepped into the spotlight during a press event in Washington, D.C., which was linked to your declassification disclosure project, which is the movement pushing all the governments to come clean about UFOs. And that was what, when we have done declassification stories in the past, that movement would have paved the way for that. Carl Wolf said that back in 1965, while he was working as a precision electronics technician at Langley Air Force Base, basically he was looking at aerial pictures of Vietnam, he was asked to assist with equipment processing images from NASA's Lunar Orbiter missions, which I spoke about earlier, LOM or LMO, whatever it was. These early missions were mapping the moon, and that was long before Google Moon. And this is back when everything was done with actual film.
Yep.
And we're talking strips of 35mm images stitched together into large photographic mosaics, okay? When Wolf reported to the NSA facility on the base, he was surprised to find a large hangar-type building filled with a lot of different people from other countries.
What?
In civilian clothes, accompanied by
hell?
interpreters. Yeah, he was really confused about what he found when he got there.
I mean, it's like a Benetton ad, but the UN style.
And he's working on a military base. So then he was shown to the dark room with another military airman, and they were looking at the pictures. Obviously, Wolf was doing whatever it was needed to be done because he's the technician.
Yeah.
The other guy was just casually saying things like, oh, by the way, we've discovered a base on the backside of the moon. The backside?
What?
The arse side.
Slapped
The derriere.
outside of the moon.
He said he was then shown these photo mosaics, Carl Wolf was, with geometric structures and towers. He saw them with his own eyes, spherical buildings and shapes that looked like massive radar dishes.
Right.
No craters or rocks, but structures.
Okay. So he's come forward to say this, but no one else
Yep.
has backed it up.
No one else has backed
So
it up.
all of those people internationally in that room probably have seen the same thing.
That was the implication. He later said he was terrified in that moment, not because he was scared of the news that he was hearing about the aliens, but because he felt he'd been told something he absolutely wasn't supposed to know.
Yes. And there is something in keeping people dumb. Dumb's not a good word, but keeping people unaware to keep them sane, to make them not anxious.
Maybe to keep the stock market stable. God knows.
Oh,
God knows.
Yes.
But Carl Wolf said he was then expecting to see something about this on the news at some point. But when that didn't happen, he thought, something fishy's going on up there.
Cover up.
So fast forward decades, and we've got Carl Wolf going public with his story. And after that, as is usual for our usual alien abductees and the like, he then pivoted into a more spiritual work. So he was running seminars around consciousness and self-awareness and blending science and mysticism in his work after that. And then he retired, aged about 74, and now it's October 2018, and he was riding a bike in Lansing, New York, when suddenly Carl was killed.
What?
When a tractor-trailer rear-ended him on his bike.
Oh, God, that's not a nice way to go.
So the police investigated this, and it was being treated simply as a road accident. Tragic, but an accident nonetheless. And no charges were filed. However, you can imagine his death, although officially just a tragic accident, sparked fresh conspiracy talk online, mainly because of his disclosure. And what added fuel to those rumours, Michelle, was the fact that there was another well-known figure in UFO circles called Robert Dean, who also died around the same time.
Do you know what? I saw something recently about 4 scientists all dying, and is there a connection? And this is like eerie shades of that. And I was just thinking, oh my God, like, is there something going on here?
Well, I can tell you a little bit about Robert Dean. He was a retired US Army Command Sergeant Major turned full-time UFO whistleblower who, after a 28-year military career, revealed he'd seen a classified NATO document from the 60s known as an assessment, an evaluation of a possible threat to NATO forces in Europe. And allegedly, this 12-inch thick deep dive into UFOs and extraterrestrial activity concluded something incredible, which was something we've talked about before, that aliens were real and already interacting with Earth, but not considered a threat.
Right.
Dean said he had cosmic top secret clearance while he was stationed at something called SHAPE, which is Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers Europe. And he said the report was an extensive, deep analysis of UFO sightings, alien encounters, even autopsies. And it said that this report concluded that unidentified objects flying over Europe were not a conventional military threat, but a highly advanced intelligence and potential long-term presence on Earth.
Okay.
It also allegedly concluded that if the visitors were hostile, they could have destroyed Earth years ago, suggesting that there's a peaceful or complex coexistence happening.
Right.
So then, as you can imagine, then Dean became a prominent figure in UFO research. Later in his life, testifying at the 2001 Citizen Hearing on Disclosure, which I believe is the same place that Carl Wolf was speaking at. I'm not sure. I'm joining dots, which is kind of what this whole episode is really about. But he did stick with his beliefs that Earth was quietly being surveyed by advanced alien civilizations. Now, of course, NATO has repeatedly stated there's no evidence that this assessment paper ever existed, and critics have questioned his claim for years, but he's never backed down. He knows what he saw.
I know what I saw. I just did a quick Google on this missing scientists. Apparently, this headline is Space Shock. So timely for this story. Chilling timeline in mysterious cases of missing space experts as another scientist found dead, and toll rises to 11. This is from the 17th of April, 2026.
Oh my God, this year.
3 days ago.
Oh.
3 days ago, this story came out.
I should have looked into that.
Well, 11 people with links to space programs and nuclear research have died or disappeared in mysterious circumstances over the past 4 years.
Bloody hell.
And these include names that we have covered before.
Like?
Anthony Chavez. We've talked about him, I think, at some point.
Yeah.
Michael Hicks rings a bell. Monica Reza rings a bell. It's very interesting. I'll pop a link to that over on the Patreon. And if you're not...
We need our super sleuths on the case.
Yes, we do. And if you're not a patron, why the bloody hell not? But going back to your story...
Well, yes, I've got to go back to my story because I need to tell you...
Yeah.
Well, poor old Robert Dean, who I said died around the same time as Carl Wolf, well, he mysteriously and suddenly died in 2018, a year before, I think, Carl Wolf, around the same year as Carl Wolf.
Okay.
Aged 89. Probably not under suspicious circumstances.
Yeah, okay.
So not that mysterious and not that sudden. So I was playing with you there. He was fucking old. So naturally, though, people are left asking, is it a coincidence or is it something darker? There's no evidence of foul play in Robert Dean's death. And it sounds like poor Carl Wolf was just the victim of a really tragic accident.
Yes, okay. All right. Well, it's funny. I just assumed they were going to be men in their 40s or 50s. I didn't realise
they're old.
Were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Carl Wolf's claims, like I said earlier, about the moon base, they've never been verified or supported or acknowledged by NASA or any official source, nor has the other guy, whose name I've already forgotten. And as humans, I think that we always get a bit uneasy about things that are hidden just out of view, and we do have a tendency to join those dots. However, what you've just said about these 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus missing scientists,
11.
That has definitely raised some questions today, Michelle.
Yes. Well, I mean, online sleuths are asking basically, what the fuck? Maybe these people are also part of the conspiracy. We just don't know it.
The thing is, though, both of the guys I spoke about in this story, Carl Wolf and Robert Dean, they have done their worst. They have been basically ignored, apart from people who are into these conspiracies. They've done their worst. They've said the worst they could possibly say. Why kill them now as old men? It doesn't make sense.
No, that doesn't. The people who are involved in this mysterious 11, one apparently died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but it's a question mark. Another one, not even publicly available. It's just very interesting, very timely that there's this whole conspiracy or not even a conspiracy. They're saying...
It's a little unsettling.
Yes. Is there a dot to be joined between these 11 people?
What's the connection?
Space programs and nuclear research. Have they all got something to hide? Are they being bumped off? Is the implication here?
Wow.
Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
While every other channel is fighting for your customers' attention, podcasts are where they've already given it. No one accidentally listens to a podcast for 45 minutes. They choose to be here. They trust the voice in their ears, and when that voice talks about your brand, it doesn't sound like advertising. It sounds like a recommendation from a friend. Acast gives you that trust at scale. Digital precision, host-read authenticity, and performance data that proves it worked. Don't fight for attention. Buy it with Acast. Learn more by visiting acast.com/advertise.
Well, listen, if you guys want to know more about what I've spoken about today, or the thing that Michelle's just unearthed to the shock and awe of all of us in the in the room, you have to go over to our Patreon. I mean, you can do the work yourself, but if you don't fancy that, and if you don't mind just popping a little coin in our slot, then do so. Go to patreon.com/eavesdroppin, no G, and become a member.
Yeah.
It's worth it. You get things back. We give and we give. We give another episode
every month.
And we give interviews with other people, like random, lovely, gorgeous people. We allow you guys to chat amongst yourselves. We are also procuring an entire almanac of television shows that you might want to watch. Rex, Anti-Rex, the whole shebang.
Whole kit and caboodle. So hopefully we see you over on the Patreon. But if not, we'll be seeing you here on Eavesdroppin every week, where you can drop some eaves with us. And in the meantime, Geordie, first of all, I'll say thank you very much for your amazing story.
Thank you. I'm desperate to go off and do some Googling now.
I know, for Google Moon. Who the fuck knew there was a Google Moon? It makes sense.
And these scientists, you've really got my feathers ruffled, Michelle.
Oh, I've got your Mark Ruffalo's ruffled here. It's very interesting. I'll be popping all those links to everything, like she said, over on the Patreon.
Wonderful.
Until then, keep smiling, as our Postie would say.
And wherever you are.
Whatever you do,
just
keep
eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping. Dropping. Eavesdropping. Dropping. Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping.
Dropping. Dropping.
Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping all day long. Eavesdropping, this is the song. Drop it like it's hot.
Do you keep hearing podcast ads, like this one, for example, but always wonder how you actually get involved with them for your own brand or organization? Well, it's easier than you think. We're Acast, and we give you the platform to do it all yourself. Browse thousands of popular podcasts, choose the shows that match your perfect audience, set your budget, and launch. And if you want a hand, our podcast specialists are there to help you launch with confidence. This is podcast advertising without barriers. Get started at acast.com/advertise.